Hi, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone across the world. This is another edition of Climate Wednesday. Today, we are very happy because we are ending the series for the month of September. And I'm very happy to tell you that we are ending it in a way whereby the United Nations General Assembly Conference is actually going on. And we're also celebrating the 6 years of the Sustainable Development Goals. And as we all know that our conversation today, this month, focus majorly on the environment, social, and governance, and how this is linked to climate justice. But today we are moving in a new dimension because of the celebration of the 6 years of the Sustainable Development Goals, as we're looking at achieving it by 2030. And as we all know that the Sustainable Development Goals are 17, and one of the major goals that we are very much familiar with is the Goal 13. And this month, this day, we're going to be discussing SDGs. What does it look like to make progress on climate action? And today have a very powerful and very energetic, committed, not only talking, but implementing strategies, implementing programs, and making sure that everybody on earth, everybody living across this Africa on earth, are actually getting the impact and getting the solution to what we are talking about. So today I'm going to be bringing to us, and it's going to be sharing a lot of things he's doing relating to climate action, climate change, and sustainable development goals. His name is Peter Fredrick Moll. He's a very passionate environmentalist from Kenya. He's driven by impacts, not by talking. And I'm very happy that he's going to be sharing with us on this call today on another edition of Climate Wednesday. What does it looks like to make progress on climate action? So let me bring our guest on board so that he's going to do more justice to our conversation today. If you're watching this video, we are streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And I'm very sure that as we continue this conversation, a lot of you will drop questions and you will want to get a feedback from our guest after the call. We're going to share. You can follow him on Twitter to also give you feedback on those things that you want to hear from him. Thank you very much. Let me first of all appreciate PACJA, African Youth Initiative on Climate Change, CSDevNet, and other partners in Nigeria as well, United Nations Development Program, for helping us to continue to amplify this conversation every Wednesday throughout the year as we move and talk about more information for young people, older generation, people living with disability also get to know what is going on in the industry and in the space of environment. We are very happy for their support and we look forward to more of the support and more people to join us to curb this issue of misinformation when it comes to conversation on environment. So let me bring our speaker on board today so that we move on and get more understanding of the topic. Hi, Peter. Good
Hi,
morning.
how are you?
Good evening. Anywhere you are hearing us from, it's good to meet you.
Good to
Yeah. So
see you.
how you
Good to see
doing?
you, my brother. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. And I'm very sure a lot of people are really waiting to hear from you. One of the things that capture my mind most is how you tell story with your programs. You know, most of the time I see some of your pictures that you post, like even though they are shared in a WhatsApp group, they still have that big quality of telling people what actually is going on. And I love the your zeal when it comes to driving impact is something that we also need to emulate. We cannot just be talking, but we need to start translating that conversation to implementation because nobody will solve this problem for us. We are the one to solve this problem for us. I remember when I
Definitely.
was in Kenya last month, I I was able to see that Kenya is really leading on conservation. Kenya is leading on impact on dry land and issue like that. And it's very, very important. And these are the things that we want to see and talk about on this platform to let people understand the impact of driving, not only talking, but the impact of driving solution that is more sustainable. So thank you very much. And we look forward to more of the great things you will be doing. So a lot of people are watching us across the world presently. I just want to them to know who is Peter Moll and what does Peter Moll do. Can you tell us? Thank you.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here. And I really do feel welcomed, and I feel honored to be part of this conversation. Peter Fredrick Moll, as you have said, that is my name. I am the CEO and founder of Stand Up Shoutout, which is a youth-led non-government organization based in 20 countries, and we are started here in Kenya, where we are based in 39 cities or counties. Basically, I'm passionate. I'm a conservationist. I'm a humanitarian. I'm a young leader who wants to secure tomorrow. Many people don't understand that when it comes to climate change, climate action, when it comes to conservation of biodiversity and wildlife, marine life, it is not about loving these species or loving the environment. It is about loving yourself and loving each other. You have a dream, I have a dream. That dream needs a tomorrow, and that tomorrow needs nature. We need clean air. We need clean water. We need a tomorrow where our dreams can reach a reality. And this is the understanding of our organization and me with what drives us to our action, to our interventions. It's about securing tomorrow for our generation, for the African youth, for the youth of the world to have a future. Because many people don't realize we have not lived our lives fully. We want to have that opportunity. As an organization, we deal with good governance, poverty reduction, conservation, youth inclusion. It's about ensuring that we make African states, governments, local, regional, continental, understand we are not a problem as a youth demographic. We are the solution, and we are the biggest asset in Africa. If we know how to position young people to help build capacities of our governments, to help in implementation, in mainstreaming from creation to planning to implementation to management and to benefit sharing, we will bring the capacity and we will show the world that African youth are the biggest asset to this continent.
Wow, thank you. That was like an elevator speech to actually know you better and the power of what you are doing. And I'm very happy that you emphasize more on the impact, you emphasize more on the power of youth, the voice of young people, and how we need to start driving that change we need to drive in the space. And yeah, the last time I saw you on the call, I see a lot of passion. I see a lot of interest of the local actors in you, and which is something that is very, very important. And I wish you good luck in everything you are doing. And this is one of the things that we need to start engaging more younger generation that will be taking over from us and be making us to be proud as well. So that what the impact we are doing and what we are putting down now will not just go without us having a reflection of our actions that we've done. So thank you very much, Peter. And that is a very good way to know you. And friends, family, activists, environmentalists watching us everywhere. I'm very sure that what Peter have for us today is going to be something powerful. And he's going to be sharing a lot with us in this conversation. From his introduction, it shows to us that Africa, there is a space for young people, and young people need to grab that space and make use of it this time. We are not the leaders of tomorrow, rather, we are the leaders of today because
Mm,
today is also our tomorrow. So it's something that we need to continue to talk about. So moving on, Peter, like I said,
yes.
uh, SDGs
Mm-hmm.
is a very strong word. It's a very strong transition from the MDG to the SDGs. And we
Mm-hmm.
see that presently we are celebrating 6 years of the MD and of the SDGs.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of countries, like we say, we are very ambitious. I don't know. Kenya is also talking a lot about SDGs. Everybody's talking about it. But
Mm-hmm.
coming to our own little space, one of the great, one let me say, one of the SDGs that we think is one of the recent conversation and moving towards COP 26 as well. A lot of things is happening now. Is climate change. That's
Mm-hmm.
good. 13. So, what does climate change means to you for the benefit of people watching across the world, and how do you reflect that in the work you do?
So one thing that we need to understand about climate change in its simplest form. is a change in weather patterns. And people need to understand that climate change is natural. The issue that we're having is our actions as humans are escalating and speeding the change in those weather patterns that would naturally have occurred, but now it is almost unnatural in how fast it is happening. And for us, when we look at it in terms of stand up, shout out as an organization, mainstreaming the understanding of what climate change is, the understanding of climate adaptation in terms of the ecological and social and economic changes to adjust to what climate change is happening, we just mainstream it. We have to make sure that we have an understanding that this has to be broken down to its simplest form. It needs to be made sure that people understand that every action we take in terms of restoration and reforestation, in terms of ensuring that the pollution and plastic waste is taken care of, in terms of ensuring that we have the policies and governance in place, in terms of having young people engaged in conservation from the grassroots to the national, to the regional, to the continental, in terms of mainstreaming youth in the creation of projects that are done by the government in terms of development, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of ensuring that whatever is happening as a young generation, as Stand Up Shout Out, when we're looking at our wildlife conservation work, when we're looking at education, when we're looking at poverty reduction and business and entrepreneurship, we're having climate change in mind in terms of our interventions, in terms of what we are doing to impact society. So I think one thing that I would love to have from this conversation, I would love people to understand from this conversation, we don't need to look at climate change as something that is over there and we're over here. We have to make sure that climate change and climate action, first of all, climate change is in our mind and climate action is mainstreamed in our actions and our interventions. And so it needs to be something that is not foreign. I think sometimes people think climate change, climate action is just strikes, is just protesting, or it's just solar energy. They don't understand that they can mainstream it in their day-to-day life, in their businesses, in their organizations. And so this is also what we try to do, to demystify and to make it relevant and like, what does it mean to me? What does it mean to me as a youth in university, as a professional youth who has a job, as a young person in high school? What does it actually mean? And this is what we do as an organization by mainstreaming it and making it relative, making the jargon make sense.
Making the jargons make sense. That is powerful, bros. See, uh, your definition of climate change and how it relates to your organization, it's something that reflects the power of what you are doing. And a lot of upcoming generation, like you said, always think that climate change is a foreign word. No, it's happening within us. It's something that we need to drive locally because developing countries are really suffering. And the only way we can get ourselves together is to address it locally, not by all these jargons, all this talk and everything, but by addressing. And one of the actions and one of the things you are doing with your organization is one of the things that a country or a community need to start doing so that they don't wait for anybody to drive that solution for them. And it's very important we continue to talk about that in the space that we have now. So thank you very much for that. So moving on, like I said again, that the SDGs is like 6 years now, and every actions we are doing is to contribute to the SDGs and to make sure that we drive solution. So, how does climate change affect the SDGs? How does it affect? Because we have different 17 goals, and we know that climate change actually affects. So, how do you think it affects the SDGs?
Yeah, thank you. And I think you are going to allude even to what I was about to say. We can't put climate change in a box. We can't say climate change is SDG number 13. And this is something that we have been pushing as an organization. We have something called Ubuntu. Ubuntu is I am because you are. Compassion, kindness, unity, understanding. It's about working together, connectivity. when I look at the UNFCCC, when I look at the COP26 that is coming up, when I look at the CBD, when I look at UNEA, when I look at CITES, these entities need to have stronger collaboration and connectivity in their interventions, in how they are going about it. Because when you look at the SDG, from SDG 1, poverty, SDG 2, hunger, we know climate change affects food security. We know climate change, when it comes to the change of weather patterns, a farmer who maybe is an indigenous farmer knows that in 2 months, I'm going to have rain. In 4 months, I'm going to have little rain. In 5 months, I'm going to need to do this and this and this. But now they can no longer do that seamlessly because the weather patterns are changing. And so the food security is in jeopardy. That's already affecting 2 SDGs. When we talk about universal health, health and well-being, number 3, we know that climate change can affect one's health in terms of when we talk about people who are climate refugees, who are displaced, their health and their well-being is put into jeopardy. We need to understand clean energy, climate change number 7. When we talk about consumption, climate change number 12. When we talk about life on land and life below land, 15 and 16. These are all, 14 and 15. These are all interlinked to climate change. And we have to start understanding that we can no longer work in what I call SDG silos, because SDGs is one of the most beautiful, powerful goals of our time, because they package and distribute our vision for the future. They package and distribute how they believe nations, countries, organizations could align themselves to secure tomorrow. But then people put themselves in boxes. They said, I am focused on SDG number 4, and I am in SDG number 4, and this is what we are doing. I am focused on SDG number 13, and I am aligned to SDG number 13, and this is what I'm doing. But they don't realize that these SDGs cut across, and the need for collaboration between people who are focused on all these SDGs individually to collaborate with other SDGs. And I think it's important that we understand that when it comes to climate change is the hottest topic right now. And it needs to be, because, pun intended, the planet is getting hotter. And so we have to start to understand that this needs to be a priority. And we need to know that climate change cuts across, conservation cuts across. It is interlinked to even the infrastructure and industry, SDG number 9. And we need to start understanding that when we, let's say as Kenya or as Nigeria, are creating our policies, creating our vision and development plans, we must keep in mind climate change, and we must keep in mind how it is interlinked to so many different aspects of our society. So for me, climate change cuts across with conservation in terms of how it is affecting all SDGs, how it needs to be in all SDGs, and how, like I said, climate change needs to be here and climate action needs to be in all our interventions. And so it is clearly, I have shown that almost all SDGs have an aspect of climate change within it. And if this is evident, then I really hope in COP26, we really look at how can we really boost the collaboration between the SDG forum in society, in the UN, and the UNFCCC and its mandate, to ensure that there's closer collaboration and financing and resources are well allocated, interlinked to what is needed and what our priorities are.
Wow, thank you very much, thank you very much. I don't think I need to repeat all what you said, because this is like an understanding for people to see that climate change, like you said, cut across all the 17 goals. You mentioned a very good example of a farmer, and I think it happens across the globe, where some farmer cannot even predict again because of the issue of the weather changing and the weather pattern. And I think it's something that we as people need to understand that this word climate change is interlinked, and it's in every SDG. Humanitarian, people that are displaced, you know, even in my country, we're having an issue of, the Boko Haram and stuff like that. A lot of people are running from their life. It's because the environment is not conducive, and that is the effect that we are seeing presently. And I can say that your contribution actually put us in a position whereby we need to start looking at those problems, and taking action and relating them to how we can make the people understand the impact of climate change. Thank you very much. And this is going to take me to this question: how do we start calling for more actions on these issues? What do you think we need to do? And let me link this together. And as a young people, as we are young generation that we are looking for to take over, we're already taking over. What do you think should be? How do you think can achieve this action? With we are we always talking about financing. We're always talking about giving us the table, let us speak. We're always talking about let us be part of the implementation strategy. What do you think? How do you think we can achieve this climate action, and relating it to the SDGs? Let us, like you said, everything is related. So how do we take action on the SDG and achieve it together? Let me say this before you come up again. And you also remember that when I started, I said your reporting plan, the way you report your story, is very, very key. I would also love if you can also share with us, as we are talking, how you able to manage to report this thing in a way by people always understand the problem and understand the solution. Because if you want to achieve an action, if you don't understand the problem, there's no way you can provide a solution. So thank you.
Well, my brother, you have asked me like 10 questions in one, but I am capable. Now, let's start with one thing. Uh, when you invited me for this engagement, first of all, I was excited, I was surprised, and I was happy. My brother, when it comes to youth leaders in Africa, when it comes to climate change, biodiversity, and wildlife, our number one issue is not our governments, it is not the conventions, it is ourselves. We have been taught that there is not enough space for all of us. We have been taught that, uh, first of all, me as an individual, I have worked so hard to reach here. I have worked so hard to get here. It's been sacrifices, it's been passion, it's been intelligence. And when I've finally reached here, I'm not making space for others. I'm not collaborating, I'm not reaching out, I'm not being inclusive. And this is our number one issue. When governments, whether it is national or regional or continental, look at the African youth, they see a divide. They don't see unity. So the number one thing that we need to do is have a super collaborative mindset. The gratitude mentality and the abundance mentality versus the scarcity mentality. We need to know, oh, I know this guy called Olumide. He's very good at doing this. We must bring him on board. I don't mind if he'll be better than me. I don't mind if he'll shine brighter than me. What I want is for us to succeed. So we need the youth leaders, the young leaders like you and I, who have been privileged enough, who have worked hard enough to reach where we are, to open the space for more young leaders to build capacity of these movements, of these networks, of these causes to achieve the goal. We need those young people who have been privileged enough, who have worked hard enough to go to the conventions, whether it is the CBD, the UNFCCC COP, CITES, UNEA, to open the door and know that we have more youth who are capable, who have the skills and talent to build the capacity of what we're trying to achieve. I feel that some people are either too comfortable or don't know how to open the doors to have more young people to build the capacity. So the number one thing here I'm talking to you about is inclusivity and capacity. What we need to have better action is more capacity. Many people think this capacity is money, resources, but the capacity could simply be bringing more talented and capable youth on board to build that capacity. So for me, inclusivity and capacity building and increase is what is needed when it comes to youth action in the climate change arena. We need to open the doors. Like I said, climate change cuts across from humanitarian to clean energy to education to conservation of biodiversity and wildlife. It cuts across to technology. Now, imagine if we open the space for young people who are in these different sectors to come on board the climate change bus. It will be much more powerful. And I think it takes a lot of leadership, takes a lot of wisdom, humility to understand that we need to do more and be more, and we are not enough. We need more young people to come on board. And they don't need to know what we know about the UNFCCC COP26 procedures. What they need to know is what they know and how they can add to the conversation. And so this is the type of holistic approach. This is the type of mindset. When we talk about SDGs and climate change, this is what we're talking about. Bringing on board different youth from different sectors to the climate change and climate action cause. So that's the first question. The next question, I think we talked about, right now, you need to understand, Olumide, there is a rush for Africans telling the African story. There is a huge investment in filmmakers and photographers. If you've ever realized on the groups that we're on and other groups that you're on, or opportunity for a filmmaker, opportunity for a photographer to capacity build, because they want and they need the African to tell their own story. And that can only happen if they're trained to tell their own story. For me, I've always, in different networks that I'm part of, we always talk about packaging and distribution. Our great friend, Greta. Greta was helped by the Western media. They packaged and distributed her story. They told it all over the world. And that helped push her cause forward. And we all love Greta. Now, when it comes to the African perspective, we've heard of issues when it comes to our sister Vanessa, who was sidelined in that picture. We know about issues when it comes to feeling sidelined in terms of when it comes to the NDCs, when it comes to the negotiations that are happening, when it comes to some events. We all know the issues. We as African youth must now become great storytellers like our ancestors. We have to know how to package the information, be it what we've done in our activities and projects, be it things like this, engagements online. We package it. And then we must learn how to distribute it. The storytelling is the oldest and most powerful tool Africans used to have in terms of passing on messages. And so when it comes to the packaging and distributing, we need to capacity build our young people. How do you, if you're doing a tree growing exercise, how do you make sure that people understand the impact through pictures, through videos? And this is now what is needed. We need more young champions in the space of climate action, more young champions in the space of against extinction of our wildlife species, more people against biodiversity loss, speaking and telling their story and learning how to do it in a passionate way, in a factual way, and an impactful way. So it's really about Illumide, it's about the packaging and distribution of your content, be it projects, online, etc., and making sure that you know how to tell that story. I think last but not least, it's really when it comes to what we need to do as young people, like I said, position yourself as an asset to your governments, regionally, locally, continental. Make sure that I was once a very, very strong activist, like activist to the core. And in 2014, I got a chance to go to South Africa, and it was at the KwaZulu Natal. And in KwaZulu Natal, I met this man called Dr. Ian Player. Dr. Ian Player saved the white rhino from extinction in South Africa. And he told me, he said, whether you're an activist, an environmentalist, a conservationist, a young professional, whoever you are, If you don't work with government or don't become government, there's nothing that you're going to do that is going to save what you want to save. Your impact will not be as much as you want. So, as young people, we need to realize yes, let's be activists, let's point out the problems, but let us show them what me and you can do to be part of the solution. Let's show them this is the issue, and here I am. I am an asset as an African youth to solve that issue. Not just pointing out this is what you should do, but pointing out this is what we can do. And this is now how the African youth will change the narrative, will own our own narrative. Yes, we can strike. It is good, right? But we are not the same demographic as the Western world. We strike in here versus how they striked in the Western world is very different in terms of impact. We as African young people need to start looking at how can we come together and be the biggest asset that we are in this continent to our governments, to the conventions, to the UN entities, and show them that we are the solution and we want to play our role and not just be commentators. We need to stop being commentators. Remember, Greta is young. She's still in high school. That's why she's saying it's not her job. And she's correct. Her job is to go and live her life. But me and you, it is our job. We are able and we are capable, and it is our job to build and be an asset, build capacity of government to save our countries and our continent. Remember, we are not to blame for climate change emissions compared to other countries. Yet we are the biggest casualties, we're the biggest victims of climate change. It's time that we try and look at what are we going to do different. Yes, we appreciate our brothers and sisters from the Western world. We love them. We love what they're doing. What are we doing different? How are we being more strategic in our way to support our vision and our dreams for climate action?
Wow, let me give you a round of applause for that, my brother. That was very, very passionate. Thank you so much. I felt so happy because the future that we are looking up to is now. And we just need to start taking the step, even if it is a baby step, to engage, to collaborate, and to build together, which is one of the strongest words you are telling us now. As an African youth, we need to come together and have a one voice. We should stop thinking about whether you are better than me or I am better than you. We should be thinking about the solution that we are providing. And it's going to actually help us to grow and have that great conversation with people that we want them to listen to us. Thank you very much. So, viewers, I'm sure you are listening to this powerful conversation because I'm so happy today because he also mentioned it that when I contacted him, I was like, I think it's just within 1 or 2 days, and he said yes to this. It's very, very passionate opportunity for me because you made it happen. Thank you so much. And quick one, I want to ask this is actually not part of our question, but uh, um, do you really think there's a progress on SDG? Because now I don't want to focus more on climate change again because I've seen it as it cuts across all the 17 SDGs.
Mhm.
Do you think there's progress on this issue of SDGs? And if there is, maybe you can share what you've seen. And if you think there's no progress or there's enough, not enough progress, what do you think should be the progress? What do you think the world leaders, African leaders, should start looking at in addressing this issue? I'm not talking about the younger generation now. I'm talking about we've they've given it to us. I remember very well. I was happy to be part of the MDG to the SDGs when we have the 8 goals, and I think goal 7 was environmental sustainability. And in my country, I remember that goal 1, which is the maternal mortality, we achieved 50%, but nobody talks about the other 7 goals, MDGs. We just have that one. We just talk about. So, do you think moving to these SDGs in 6 years now? Do you think we have progress, and what do you think we should do, or the problem that is happening?
Great question. I think one thing that we need to understand is what are the SDGs? What is actually the mission of the SDGs? Because if we start talking about the mission of the SDGs being each individual SDG and the 160 plus targets within those SDGs, then that question I cannot answer for you. Because we have to understand there is, even we had this conversation at UNEA 4, there is no monitoring and evaluation when it comes to the SDGs. There's no way where I can go and you can go and say, this is what I've done for the SDGs. You enter your data and the data is collected. Is there a place? No, there is no place like that. And so, if I would say the one thing that I think we have, what, 9 years left for the SDGs? If there's one thing that we can do different is how do we collectively understand where we are, how far we have reached, and how we can do it better together in these 9 years. And one of the things that you mentioned, and I love that you mentioned it first, the MDGs were swept under the rug and the SDGs were brought. The MDGs failed. And like you said, many people don't even speak about where we reached in terms of the MDGs. And we have to understand that the SDGs, the biggest achievement the SDGs had was to give countries, individuals, organizations a roadmap and a vision. This is where we're going. And that succeeded. There is so much content on the SDGs that people can go and look at and know, okay, this is how I can contribute. That is the greatest, for me, that is the greatest win, that people can understand the SDGs easier than any other document that has been released by a convention or by a UN, because the SDGs were packaged very well, colorful, little to no jargon, and very easily understandable. And people, even an individual, even a high schooler, can contribute to the SDGs because that's how easy it is to understand. And so that I think is the biggest success. But 6 years down the line, many countries have done great things, but I said I can't quantify it because there is very little M&E, there's very little evaluation, and this is something we have to improve on. We need to know how can countries and how can individuals or CSOs or entities, private and public, show their contribution and quantify their contribution so that we know where we're going. I think as world leaders, again, like I said, for us young Africans, it's about understanding one thing. That is the goal. Me and Alumide are a team, but we're missing something. Between us, we can't achieve this goal, so we need to add Sarah and we need to add Tom. You understand? So the same thing needs to be done at the world leader stage, at the AU stage, at the African continent, at the regional stages, at the local and the national. This is what we want. This is what we have. We're missing something. Let's bring the private sector on board. Let's bring the education institutions on board. Okay, let's mobilize the youth groups. We see what they can offer in terms of being valuable to this mission. And that is how we need to go about climate action. We need to go about climate adaptation and the SDGs. The goal, our capacity, and add. And we need to be honest with ourselves. Humility is what is needed in our generation. So many of us have worked so hard to be here, Lumide. So it's very hard for us to be humble because we've sacrificed, we've pushed, we have gone in and out to reach where we are. But that's humility, the wisdom to step back and say, something's missing. We need more. Let's go look for it. And that's something I've not seen, especially when it comes to CBD and the COP26 UNFCCC. I've not seen the youth who are leading them say, wow, we're missing something. We need to go look for youth groups or youth entities that can add to what we're missing or can add impact. The same thing needs to happen on all sectors across. The humility, the wisdom to say, what is missing? Go look for it because it's out there. There's a young person out there who can maybe speak better than me and you. They need to come on board and they need to be able to articulate our message. And we want them not because they're better than us, but because they add value. And that's how we need to start looking at each other, from government to private sector to youth. How can we add value through bringing and being inclusive? Same for the SDGs. We need to be inclusive. If Kenya has something that Nigeria needs, Kenya should step up and Nigeria should ask for help. If South Africa have resources that Uganda needs, South Africa should step up and Uganda should ask for help. We need to start looking where we falling short and who has the technical expertise, the resources, whatever it is that can help boost our mission to achieve the goal. And this is the type of mindset that I really want to see. And that is how we will achieve what we need to achieve by 2030.
Wow, I think you've already answered all my remaining questions. I that was very, very, interesting. I just wish that the world leaders would be watching this now, so that they will be able to understand that we have people that are lying or sitting down somewhere, that they have the ability, the capability, and the strength to actually make that sustainable change, and so that we can drive sustainable impact. I'm very happy because, uh, uh, in as much as we are doing our bit, that your strong message of collaboration, building together, is a very strong, powerful word that we need to look into. And this is supposed to happen in the leadership space as well, not only with the young generation. Because if our leaders have one voice, then they'll be able to listen to the people that are actually providing the solution locally. And it's a way forward for us to now see that we talk about the Africa we want. And you've also mentioned a lot about the CBD, the COP26, the Unite. All these activities need to come together as one and understand that all their conversation is interlinked, and we'll be able to solve the solution of developing countries, which is very, very important. Thank you very much. And as we are closing, I wish everybody's watching us everywhere. This is Climate Wednesday, and we are very happy again, once again, that we have Peter Moll sharing those powerful messages with us today on the way forward for SDGs and how it's related to climate change. But don't forget, Peter have said to us today that all these SDGs are all interlinked, and we need to start looking at them as one, so that we can provide a sustainable solution to them together. And I'm also happy that a lot of you that are watching will be sending across your question to Peter, which I think we're going to send to Peter to put some response to them as we go on. And thank you so much to all our friends, our family, our, let me call them, activists everywhere across Africa, environmentalists that are actually doing something, impacting generation, making sure that they are not waiting for the leaders to come and help them, but they are taking responsibility locally to solve the problem of the people living with disability, people in the local area. Like you just mentioned some is the community you are working with, your stand up shout out. I think those community, by now your organization should have been an household in that community. I'm very, very sure, because you are solving livelihood issues. And that is one of the greatest things that a lot of other younger generation need to do. With your 20 years experience, my brother, it's something that a lot of people need to start thinking about. Are we going to continue to talk or go to those meetings and have conversation and come back home? Or are we going to be looking at implementation, those policies, those agenda, those documents? We need to start talking about how we can work on that. Thank you so much. And as we are rounding up, let me quickly ask this last question. What next for young people in building a climate smart generation across Africa? What is next? What do you think we should need to start looking at on the SDGs, on the climate action, biodiversity, conservation, wildlife? Those are the areas that I think is very, very strong for young people need to talk. So what next for us?
Thank you so much. And I was just having a burning, how do I say it, intervention that I wanted to bring. One thing that I want us to make clear is that it's okay to talk. It's okay to go to the conferences. It is okay. What is not okay is if we do not translate the talk and the conference's engagement to the local and regional and continental action. And so that's why as an organization, we go to UNEA, we go to CITES. Inshallah, we'll go to CBD and the COP26. But the main thing is we translate, and we translate that to local action. We help governments implement their obligation. And this is something that we have to have as young people who have the privilege to go to these conferences. How do you help translate that to local action? How do you help disseminate the jargon into relevant information? So that is something I want people to understand. Talking is okay. Going to conferences is okay, but that is not enough. That's what you need to understand. So the question that you're asking is, what is next? First, this is something that I need people to understand, especially African youth, older and younger than me. Stop trying to assimilate. Stop trying to be something that you're not. One, you were created to add value to society as who you are. The opportunities and blessings that are for you are waiting for you to be you and to stop being something that you're not. You have to understand that these issues have been here for decades and they have not gone. Some of these issues have been here for a century and they have not gone. Why? Because they are waiting for someone to think different, to see different, to speak different, to be themselves, to be unique, to bring what is within them to solve a problem that has never been solved. We need to understand that the table that you're fighting to sit at, the opportunity that you're fighting to have, is waiting for you to be yourself, to be authentic. We as Africans, we must look at things as we are. We must see the world as we are, and we must create the world as we want it to be. Don't settle. Don't alter yourself. There is a skill within you. There is a creativity within you. There is a mindset within you. There is something within you that is waiting for you to bring to the table that is different. So do not be scared to speak differently, to bring ideas that are weird and that are not the norm, because that is what is going to create tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be created by those who are brave enough to see a world that they are not comfortable with, to be so uncomfortable that they must change it. And so what is next for climate change, for biodiversity and wildlife conservation, is that we as young people must start having the local approach, the national approach, regional, continental, international. And it must be seamless. From the ground all the way to the conference, there must be an interconnectivity of exchange of ideas, exchange of knowledge, and an exchange of ideologies. And this is how we streamline youth meaningful engagement, youth meaningful participation, by having that local to international approach and having that connectivity. We also need to understand that, yes, we must learn from those who have come before us. So we need more intergenerational exchanges. We need to have, I know, and I keep on asking this wherever I go, how many people have mentors? Very few young people nowadays have mentors. Back in the day, if you ask your father, your grandfather, they would have 2 or 3 mentors who helped them go through here and here, who gave them advice. But nowadays, we as young people don't have as many mentors. So we need to have more chances for intergenerational exchange to see, okay, how was it for you? What went wrong? What went right? So that we can forge a path knowing from our history and seeing the future. I think last but not least, Olumide, what is next is that, like I said, that collaboration, building together, that unity. I call out to all leaders in their spaces, be it national, be it local, be it regional, continental. I call to you, young African leader, make space for more youth to build capacity for your causes. Make space for young people. Call out to what type of young people you need to bring to the table. Make space in the space of climate action. Make space in the space of biodiversity loss. Make space in the space of wildlife extinction, against wildlife extinction, and let us have a holistic approach. Let us have an Ubuntu. I am because we are. We need to understand we are more than enough, but together we are more powerful. I always say alone, but together stronger. And so we need to understand that it's not about competition, it's not about scarcity. We must think gratitude and abundance. Yes, we get to do this. We get to fight for our rights. We get to fight for our causes. And I love him and her because they're brilliant at what they do. Come on board. Yes, we need someone who can do this. You can do it. Great. Come on board. Let us have the understanding. We have one goal. We have different ways to reach there, but we have one goal. Let us pull together to achieve this. Remember, this is about our dreams. It's about our future. We need to start understanding this is not a game. This is not something that we're going out there, oh, conferences, oh, opportunity. This is not a game. Our future is in jeopardy. I have dreams. I think you also have dreams. Who is watching this? Alumide has dreams. Is that enough to bring us together? I want to have a family. Alumide, maybe you have a family, you want to have a family. Is there going to be a tomorrow for us to have a family? We don't know. So we need to start understanding and asking our questions, why are we doing this? And if we're doing this for the right reasons, let's pull together so that we can achieve our goal. I really appreciate Alumide for bringing me on board. I think when it comes to climate action and climate change and climate adaptation, everyone needs to be involved. Every single person. We need everyone.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. But please, before you go, before we round up this conversation, we always have this culture that we need your parting word. Your parting word should just be in one sentence. So
Perfect.
it's going to be like a call to action for all stakeholders that are looking towards a future that would benefit not only individual but benefit everybody across the world. So, what is your parting word for us?
We know the science, we know the facts. We know that if we don't do enough, our future is in jeopardy. But there's something that we seem not to understand is the human connection. Do you care for yourself? Do you care for your brother and sister? Do you care enough for your communities and your country? Young leaders, government leaders, show me your compassion. Show me your humanity in the way you think and do things. As we keep focusing on the data and the science, amazing. But what about your heart? Do you have a conscience? Do the right thing. Today, take action now. In your deliberations and your negotiations, can we see that you can hear us? Can you hear us? Can you see our actions as young people pushing and fighting for our rights? We should no longer be fighting for our rights. It should be structured, it should be there. Show us, young African leaders and the governments of the world, in the COPs coming up, show us that you care enough to do the right thing. Because tomorrow is not promised. And if you do not secure it, we shall. And we'll do it our way. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much, Peter. Thank you very much. And as you are saying in Swahili, Asante Sana. I'm very
Karibu,
happy
karibu.
because you've I don't know what to say again, but just to tell you that you're a very strong person, you're powerful with your words, and I am very sure that as long as you are reflecting those words into action, then the strength will be there for you to push more. And you've also mentioned the power of mentorship, the power of mentors, which I think I've been saying this to all my friends, everyone that I've been talking to, that we need somebody to push us. We need somebody to get us on the right lane. Because if we don't get this right, then why are we calling for us to be on the table? Because
Mm,
we need the right information, we need the right resources, we need the right tools to get engaged and push. And we all see with our eyes is the problem that is actually happening within us, and those solution is within our hands that we can propose solution to it. So we need guidance, we need connection. That connectivity the spirit to work together also need to drive us. Thank you very much, Peter. And we look
Welcome.
forward to have you some other time when we're having another series on Climate Wednesday. Have a great day and wish you all the best.
Thank you very much, and asante sana tena.
Bye. Yeah, thank you, everyone. Today has been very powerful. I've been very great. And I don't know where to start from, but I can just tell you that Peter did justice to this conversation. He has shown us, he has opened our eyes to the powerful of the SDG, how we need to continue to take action, and how climate change has been like like a link within all the SDGs. And he has shown to us, both the younger generation, the private sectors, the government, the need for us to continue to take action. And if we don't take this action, it's going to affect us, our upcoming generation, and the present generation we are. So, our viewers across the world, we are very happy that we are ending this month with this conversation. And we have been talking about climate justice, climate change, we're talking about environment, social, and governance across the value chain. And this month, we are very happy that we have our final guest for this month with a powerful and a strong message. He has urged every one of us to look at that connectivity that will drive us to provide solution to the problem that we are having presently. And it's good to talk, it's good to have conversation, but it's also good to continue to work together and drive more sustainable future for the people and the planet. One more time, if you are mixing this conversation or you're just joining us, you can watch us again on YouTube, you can watch us on Twitter, and you can watch us on Facebook. It's actually going live throughout the period you're going to be watching us. And you can come back and watch again because it's always on that platform for you to learn, share, and get the right information for your actions and your programs. Thank you very much. My name remains Olumide Idowu. I'm the co-founder of International Climate Change Development Initiative. And with my team, my supporters, the funding partners for International Climate Change Development Initiative, we appreciate you all for giving us this platform to talk to people today and to also share from what we have for you today on Climate Wednesday. Have a great evening, great morning, great afternoon everywhere you're watching us. Bye.